Hello and welcome. My name is Katerina, and I'm the Senior Community Programming Associate at the New York Immigration Coalition, and I will be your host. The NYIC has put together a series of videos to connect immigrant New Yorkers to city services that support families' economic, educational, and social development. Today, we will be hearing from Asma, Chief Operating Officer, and Rahenna, Health Navigator at Council of People's Organization. We will discuss how to seek medical care if you don't speak English, how to find cultural responsive services, and how health navigators can help you, and more. Now I'd like to introduce Asma and Rahenna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asma. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at COPO, and this is.
Hi, my name is Rahenna. I'm a health insurance navigator at COPO.
Great. Thank you both so much for joining us today. Jumping right in, our first question is, I need to go to the hospital, but I don't speak English. What can I do?
Basically, most hospitals, they have their own interpreter services. They can get that services, or otherwise they can take their family members with them and they can help.
Right. So every hospital is required, if English is not your first language, they have skilled interpreters and they must provide that to you. I think like what Rahenna said, it's really helpful to take a family member as well, who does speak English, so they can do translation for you. Translation and transcriptions are like very important to the hospitals. It is a form of instruction that is provided and information that is provided to you when you are in the them.
And how do I go about finding a doctor that speaks my language?
Those family member or friend may already have list of medical professionals who they have used or who speak your language, or they may know of organizations in the area that can help you find a particular doctor for your health needs.
And then what also is helpful is if you do go to a community-based organization who caters to, mainly your population or your ethnic background, they may also be able to help and connect you. There are plenty of health insurance navigators to help connect you to a doctor who speaks your language.
Great. So it's starting in your community, people you know, organizations near you. Sounds like a really good starting point into finding a doctor that can speak your language.
For example, let's say you're already at the primary care doctor because it was assigned to you when you did apply for insurance. It's on your insurance card, so now you have to go there. You can request there, for your doctor to be switched as well. And they have access to so many doctors in the system who they can transfer you to.
Okay, wow, that's so helpful. So say I can only be seen by women doctors. Can I make that request?
Yeah, so this is actually, people think that it's not normal, but it's quite normal, quite common. You don't need to explain anything. Just say you would prefer to have a female doctor to do the exam. And now, actually, the rule of thumb also in OBGYNs and GYN office is to have another female present during any type of exam.
I appreciate you sharing that. It is normal. Doctor offices are used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about cultural competency.
Right.
As well. And they want to respect, right? At the end, they do want to respect what the client needs are as well. And if a woman doctor is what they are comfortable with, that's what they're comfortable with.
Of course. Our next question is, will my information be shared with my family?
According to HIPAA privacy rule, you are protected. No, you are 18 and over, information is not shared with anyone that you give consent. You must give consent. Some doctors' offices may accept the verbal consent. Most do not, as they need to have a written consent to share information. That includes if you take someone who is just translating, right? That needs to be a written consent that it's okay for me to share in the language. So before they even start the translation services, it's translated that, hey, do you feel comfortable that I share the information that we're about to go into about your health records with this person and, the translation services? Yeah, so your information is not shared with them. But let's say you are under 18. There are very specific things that are shared and not shared. Now going into like different fields, it depends. For example, let's say you're in mental health counseling, or you're a counseling patient, and usually what's shared is if you're a danger to self or others. Other than that, a lot of the information details is kept, confidential between the therapist and the client. Although parents do have a right to come into the session, it does hurt the rapport with the client and the child that's a client, but most of the time, again, abiding to the HIPAA rule, even with children under 18, they try their best.
Got it. And thanks for including that piece about the interpreters too, because I think that that's something I forgot about, that they would need to hold the information confidential.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our next question is, does my family need to be present during my appointment?
No, unless you are a minor or unless you have requested for it.
It needs to be requested. A lot of the times, if you go to the doctor, they will ask you. You go with even if you go with your spouse, it's like, would you like your spouse to be present or not? And then sometimes the spouse is also sent out to ask those personal questions. The PHQ-9 to be filled out to see if the female or male both are feeling safe at home, depending on who is the patient at that time. One thing adding on back to the previous question is, let's say you have a health proxy. So that is someone that all information is shared with. Let's say you are not able to take decisions and you have an AOT order, a court order, mandated order. So those are situations where another person is allocated a guardianship that does make those decisions or is able to obtain information. Because that comes under, you're under their care.
That does make sense. The last question I have for you is, what is a health navigator and how can they help me?
Well, you should take it off with that.
Okay, so health navigator is an individual who is trained and certified to do the health insurance thing. Not only health insurance, they can do the outreach also, like their billing issues and everything.
Right. They are trained individuals through New York State of Health, who have gone through rigorous training to know how to work the marketplace. So completing eligibility, enrollment forms, answering any questions about bills that come up, looking for a doctor. So very trained in that field. And based off of the organization that they're part of, they would have a list of resources available catered to that community, right? So I think that's like the beauty of this field of having health insurance navigators like all around the city, because each health insurance navigator targets like this different set of population that they work with. It's important to build that resource list with your organization that you're working with to help just that you move towards a better health, a better well-being for the patient or for the client that's walking in your door.
Yeah, of course. Healthcare in general is so confusing, and it really helps to have someone just sit down with you in your language, break it down for you, and answer all your questions. So
one last thing I want to add about our location specifically is, and if you reach out to us, our phone number we'll put on the screen below, is that we are also a direct enrollment site for NYIC Cares. So let's say you are an undocumented individual and you are afraid to go to a health navigator, because you won't be eligible for health insurance. What would happen is you would still be eligible for emergency Medicaid. And then we are able to enroll you directly instead of you going to an HHA hospital. We are able to directly enroll you here at our site once you sit down with Rahina.
That's awesome to just do it all in one place. That's great. Are there any questions that you two are faced with frequently that you wanted to touch on, or any last thoughts?
I would just comment with the difficult cases that we get about the detainees. So there are individuals, there are families who had been detained for hours, for days, and they come through our door to help, and it's word of mouth. Right? So that they know that they can come, they can trust us, we would still try to help them to get the health insurance, get, the health care that they are in need of, trying to connect them. So please You know, whatever your background is, just pick up the phone and call or visit your nearest TPO that does have a health navigator to connect for, you know, your well-being at the end of the day.
Of course. And we definitely will be including your website as well as your location, phone number, and all of that in the description of the video. So I really encourage people to reach out to your organization if they need help. All right. Well, thank you again to you both. It's been a pleasure having you. And to stay involved with either COPA or the NYIC, right here is our contact information as well as social media handles. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
Thank you.